The last thing you want to do is just turn up, turn your screens on and start clicking away, because that's just reactive trading. You're not clearing up the ideas of what could happen. You have no clear plan. And if it doesn't work immediately, you don't know how to then deal with that. Somebody who dips in and dips out and kind of goes, oh, well, I've got an hour, I'm going to have a little go at trading now. They're the people that are really going to struggle. What does a professional routine look like? Typical daily and weekly routine. Okay, I'll give you an example of my routine. Granted, I created this for someone a little while ago. Granted, this was when I lived in London. I don't currently live in London, so I can't any longer cycle to work, for example. But I had a very clear routine. Now, I don't think this tells the whole story. This gives you a sense of routine by way of what times you'll wake up, come to work, all of the rest of that type of thing. It is broken down to some degree in the way that I'm looking at things, morning news, planning opening trades, then creating hypotheses on what's going to happen within the day. That is vital. If you can't create a hypothesis on what's going to happen for the day, you can't create different scenarios on what's going to happen for today, then what you're left with is a situation where you become reactive. You follow the last few candles and you go, oh, that creates a pattern. Oh, that creates a pattern. Rather than looking at a market and saying to yourself, well, I know that there is a certain structure here. I know that the market potentially has more scope to accelerate here, decelerate here. Therefore, you've got plans. You know where the market's going to change, where you want to be bullish, where you want to be bearish. That's crucial. If you don't have this before you start, don't start trading. Next up, trading. I would always, for me, I would always trade the European cash open up until, I'd call it midday. It's midday in Europe, so it's around 11 a.m. for us. That's when the volatility starts to drop. At this point, I will take a break. It's not rigid, but I'll take a break, review what's gone on. Always asking yourself, I don't care about the P&L. I'm not looking at my P&L. What I'm looking at is, what have I learned so far today? What has the market shown me? What's been going on? This way, I can then start to plan out the afternoon with that little bit of added information. Then it's off to trade in the afternoon. If there's economic data, prep that, and then debrief. This brings me on to weekly. My debrief on a daily basis is predominantly about collecting information. I want information so that when I get to the weekend, I can review that. Weekend reviews are not long-winded. This can be an hour and a half a weekend. Go back through the week, look at what's happened, look at what else could be done. So that's generally the way most people approach it. But be clear on your routine. Be clear on what you need to have done before you start trading. The last thing you want to do is just turn up, turn your screens on and start clicking away, because that's just reactive trading. You're not clearing up the ideas of what could happen. You have no clear plan. And if it doesn't work immediately, you don't know how to then deal with that. Let's go for it. So that's giving you a day-to-day routine. Most traders are reasonably clear on what it is they do, what they're trying to do at specific points in the day. Particularly that transition from morning to afternoon, there's quite a distinct change in the flow, the way the market trades. That's significant. That's something that you have to sort of prep for. Update what you've done in the morning. Update your prep from the morning. Is it possible for a beginner to succeed in trading with a full-time job and family? How do I remain focused and motivated? It is possible. I've seen it done. It is doable. What is so key to this? And staying focused and motivated is particularly a tricky one. Motivation depends upon what exactly motivates you. Why is it that you want to be a trader? What is it that inspires you to be a trader? Why do you want it? That's not an easy one to answer on a broad basis, because of course everybody's different. Everyone's got their own reasons that they want to be a trader. So let's go and answer at least some of this. Key thing, particularly if you are not able to trade all the time, you're working around a job, working around a family, is a routine. Now, what I mean by a routine, I'm not telling you what time to wake up and when to have your lunch and all of that. I mean, real clear, what do you do each day when you're trading? What are the trades you look for? What are the time periods that you trade? Often people say, oh, well, I can only trade the US session up to the close, things like that. And with that, be clear on what session you trade. Treat this like a whole day. So do your prep based on everything that's gone before that, and trade from when you start. So let's say you're in the UK, you trade the US session when you get home from work. So you do your prep, you get ready to trade at, let's say, 7 o'clock, and your trading session is 7 until 9. There are specific features that will occur during that time period. You're going to cover the oil close, you're going to cover the treasuries close, you're then going to cover the hour after the treasuries, where it's just the equity markets, and it is just the equity markets up to their close. So there will be specific things within that. And this is what I mean about a framework. You've got to have a framework for whatever you do, whatever trades you're looking at, whatever sessions you're trading, how you go about your prep, how you go about your execution when you're in trades. That's how you can do it. It is possible, but it's about having that clarity. It's about being very clear on what you do and when you do it. Somebody who dips in and dips out and kind of goes, oh, well, I've got an hour, I'm going to have a little go at trading now. They're the people that are really going to struggle, because you're never going to be able to generate a consistent approach, a consistency in what you do. Ultimately, consistency in what you do is what pays you, not, people look for consistent performance, but consistent performance is a byproduct of consistent preparation, consistent framework, consistent routine.